What's up, Mooncutter fans? Joffrey Curry here as always. I hope you enjoyed what you just saw, the new transition to a new opening animation. And with that, I can also debut this puppy. Look in the upper right-hand corner because you're about to see a change. New, improved, official Mooncutter Sportscast logo. There it is. Anyways, today we're going to continue the series we've been running, covering the free agency draft and expectations for the year for each team in the NFL. I recently had a guest on to cover the Packers. Was probably one of the more fun episodes I've done. That being said, we're going to continue the flow of NFC North. And today, I've got a great guest. Media credential with he's probably going to correct me, but I believe it's KNSI Sports, as well as a bit of a Twitter celebrity at the Sports Crib 21, Justin Ekstrom. What's up, buddy?
What's going on, man? Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming on. This recording, or this episode, interview, whatever you want to call it, I just want to say has been over a month and a half in the works due to just his and my schedules not exactly lining up.
When you get East Coast and Central and all that stuff, things just don't, and you get working men, like you just can't. Sometimes it just doesn't work out, man.
Cribby, as you have on screen, I just want to say, entertaining as it is, you've been more difficult to coordinate with than two separate episodes we've had with guests from the UK.
See, the UK is ridiculous, man. Their fandom for when it comes to NFL and Vikings especially, I did not realize it was that vast. And we got a good covering of Minnesota Vikings fandom in the UK, man. It is crazy.
I mean, if the Vikings fans overseas are as passionate as Paul Hope, the gentleman we had on here back in early June to cover the 49ers, or as good as Anth and Otis, and I'm forgetting the third gentleman's name, but the guys from or Paul Hope from 49er Faithful UK that came on with us to cover the Niners, and the gentleman from Gangrene UK. If the Minnesota fan base over there is as passionate and knowledgeable as they are, then you guys are in good hands over in England.
Oh, it's impressive. Just start following something. Just put UK and Vikings together. There are some good accounts. Really good accounts.
I'm going to have to do that here. Now, excuse me, sorry. Before we get going, you want to give them a little bit of a background on you, like your ties into the world of sports reporting and all that?
So for me, I've been a fan since basically Darren Nelson. I was watching the NFC Championship game against the Washington Redskins, now the Commanders or whatever the heck they are. NFC Championship game, Darren Nelson drops a sure-handed touchdown, and I turned to my old man and said, I'm a Vikings fan for life because they're going to need them, because that was awful. And then, and it was just like, ever since then, I was 7 years old, or 6 or 7, whatever it was, maybe, 7, going to be 8. And ever since then, I've just been passionate about the Minnesota Vikings. They haven't done shit since. They get the NFC Championship games and do the exact same thing every time. S the B, I like to say, or shit the bed, because we don't have to worry about censorship here. But so I've been following them, and I've been working with KNSI Sports for the last 4 years. I get to get down to anything that I just ask to go do. They say, okay, go, let's just put in your credentials for this. And I got to go to the NCAA Final Four. I got to go to the Minnesota Timberwolves playoff game, the one they actually won at home this year. And then I ended up going to a couple Vikings games a few years back, and I went to Vikings camp before 2020 happened. I have not been back to Vikings camp because my life is just a flaming pile of dog crap sometimes. So it's just so fast. Everything just goes so fast. So I don't get to go do that, but I mostly cover high school sports just because I get access to a studio. I get to be a color analyst for high school sports. And we actually broadcast St. Cloud State University Husky hockey on AM 1450 FM 99.3 KNSI out of St. Cloud. I doubt there's too many listeners out in the West Virginia area, but it's it's been a fun ride, and it's usually one of those things that I say it's just my passion to talk and to watch sports and that stuff. I just so happen to get paid minimal wage to actually do what I love.
Hey, if you enjoy what you do, you will never work a day in your life.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I wish I
And
could somehow make this into a full-time gig, but I just don't have the resources for that quite yet.
yeah, that's kind of where I'm at too. We've launched as a network now instead of just Mooncutter Sportscast. We've got sports broadcasting involved on here. We've got 2 other shows that are linked, working on more projects, but we're still not at the point where we're making much money doing this yet either. So don't feel bad.
Takes time, man. Like I like being guests on shows, to be honest with you. People are like, hey, this guy might know what he's talking about, and then they realize, well, I probably don't, but it's always fun. It's always fun.
Well, we'll definitely find out how much you know here as we as we jump into this. But I will say you enjoy being a guest on shows. Well, thank you for coming on, and I can already tell that I'm going to enjoy having you on.
It's good. We got a good rapport already. We're about 18 minutes past our recording time just because we were just BSing.
Yeah. Well, no, technically we're still about 23 and a half hours ahead of our recording time because
That's right.
my dumbass texted him at like 7 o'clock or 6:30 Eastern time, 5:30 his time, to be like, hey, so we still good for tonight? Thinking it was Wednesday. Wasn't until he said, I thought we were going tomorrow, but yeah, we're good. And I'm like, I looked at my phone. I'm like, oh shit, it is Tuesday. Whoops.
It actually worked out really well for me because I have trivia in my wife's hometown tomorrow night that she's like, hey, don't forget about trivia. We need you on our team. I was like, oh shit. Yeah. Okay.
So it's a good thing that I screwed up and messaged you early because
sometimes
rescheduling again.
Yeah. Well, I'm like, let's just do this, man. Let's just figure it out. I got some booze. Let's do some sports talk.
Yeah. You're sitting there sipping that Kirkland signature bourbon, you said.
Yeah, it's like the 9-year bourbon. Ugh. It's something. I hope my friend that gave this to me for Christmas, is a coworker of mine. Hope she's not too mad. I'm like, I don't know. I always said I would never give back gifts or anything like that. I wish I would have gone to Kirkland and been like, yeah, this isn't good. And they usually give you your money back or give you something else, but I'm still sipping it down. It's booze. It does the work. Does the trick, I should say.
I mean, as long as it's strong enough to get you buzzed.
Yeah, one of these, and then you can go straight to bed.
Yeah, I'm going to guess you're a couple years older than me. So yeah, one might be enough.
Well, that was a nice way of saying I look old as shit.
Well, I'm going to guess you're above 32.
Yeah, I'm 42.
Exactly. So see that. Yeah. Anyways, let's jump right into the free agency talk.
Let's do it.
Because you guys have a lot of moves, a lot more incoming than outgoing, luckily, but a couple of your outgoings are big deals. I'm seeing here, let's start with the one that I started laughing when I read the name. But safety, Xavier Woods, moved on to Carolina. And no, for those of you that follow our other show, Shock Sports Wrestling, not that Xavier Woods.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people mix that up.
Probably. I mean, that's a pretty big name, especially if you are even a mild fan of wrestling.
Yeah. But some of my co-hosts for the Saturday Sports Special that I have on KNSI, they love wrestling. I used to love wrestling. My wrestling was Stone Cold Steve Austin, man. When he first came out, that was my wrestling era. And or old school with Andre the Giant, Hulk Hogan back in like 85, 86, 87. That's the only wrestling that I basically know. And so every once in a while, I get the jokes when people are talking about wrestling, but I'm not the hugest wrestling fan currently.
Well, with Vince McMahon retiring and Triple H now in charge of a lot of the talent and who's getting pushed and whatnot in WWE, it might be a good time to start tuning back in.
That's what my buddy starts saying. I always say, like, I would go to anything with my one buddy. He's an NXT fan, and he's like, come with me when they're in Minneapolis. I was like, I got two kids there, 10 and 7. So it's like, I can't just get down there. If they were into that, I would take them with me, because I got buddies that do that with their kids. And like the young female base with wrestling is crazy right now. Like, you just see the little girls like holding up their signs and stuff like that. Cute as fuck, man. It's good shit. It's good for wrestling.
Oh yeah. Honestly, I'll say, unfortunately, you missed out. Your buddy was onto something, because for the past, I want to say 7 years, up until the recent 2.0 reboot on NXT, NXT was hands down the best wrestling on the market.
That's what he was saying.
Like, I would say, as popular as AEW is, what Hunter had going on with NXT was even better.
Dang. Wish I would have listened to him.
But anyways, Xavier Woods moving on to Carolina. 26-year-old, went for a 3-year, $15 million deal. How big of a loss?
Well, so he was one of my favorite acquisitions last year. Like, I remember being on the golf course. I was like, this could be the key to this Mike Zimmer defense, that kind of thing. I don't think he was all that important to what we're going to be doing under Donatello right now. He's not one of those guys that you focus a defense around, or you move that's Harrison Smith. That's the defensive line, because they're going to 3-4 now. Xavier Woods isn't. I'm not saying it wasn't a loss, but it's not one of those that you're like, oh, dang it, we lost him. Like, it's not that big of a loss. But he was, for all intents and purposes last year, he was one of the more solid acquisitions defensively that we got to use. And just turns out our defense was not very good last year.
Okay, so you're saying he wasn't that much of a, oh shit, we lost him move?
I don't think so. Not in my opinion.
I would guess your opinion is going to be the exact opposite on the next name I'm going to bring up. But moving on from the Vikings to my boys, the New York Jets, tight end Tyler Conklin.
I was always a big fan of Baby Gronk, man. Baby Gronklin. That's the dude. Like, I always thought he was going to be the dude. And I don't know how long it was, but he actually followed me on Twitter for a while, because I was man crushing on him and all that. It was I thought what he did last year in our kind of revamped offense, trying to get Justin Jefferson the ball, and Conklin did a really good job that was supposed to be centered around, it was supposed to be Irv Smith's job. And Conklin comes in, and there were some games there where Kirk Cousins just missed him. Just like, he's open, and he just missed that read for whatever reason. I can't remember the one game where he's like wide open. He probably would have gone in for a touchdown, but it's just, obviously we're Monday morning quarterback in here, but I loved Conklin, and just, it's good that he went and got that. I was hoping we could have kept him, because, now Irv Smith being hurt again, the word out of training camp, I don't know how much time he's missing. I didn't see much on Twitter today, but there's a lot of the Vikings fans going, oh shit, he's hurt again. So he hasn't padded up the last 2 days. And, it'd be nice to have Conklin, because he did so well last year. And the problem, we don't know what this offense is going to look like either. We can only assume that we've seen it with the Rams, who just won the Super Bowl. Like, we see that type of offense. We know there's going to be 3, 4, 5 wide from time to time. There's going to be Dalvin Cook out there. Having a guy like Conklin would have been freaking phenomenal, because you see what Tyler Higbee did. Feast or famine style there. He had 4 touchdowns or 3 touchdowns that one game, and then he wouldn't have a catch for 2 weeks, because, I think Conklin's one of the bigger losses for this offense, even though the offense it should still be pretty good with the pieces they have.
I mean, other than Conklin, Mason Cole, who went to Pittsburgh, which we'll touch on him in a second here, and it looks like fifth on depth chart receiver Chad Beebe. You guys really didn't lose a lot.
No, BB was one of those guys, obviously because of the lineage that everyone kind of loved. You wanted to see him be that red zone guy, or like the punt returner, kick returner. He just couldn't get on the field. He'd be hurt anytime that he would have an opportunity to get on the field, and then he just never really did a whole lot. He was one of those camp favorites where you see him, you're like, oh my God, he's looking good. And obviously the last name got him to where he is probably, but the kid can actually play. It's just he didn't really have a spot here. You couldn't find a spot where he would succeed.
Now, my question is, looking at how much of a key piece of your squad last year Conklin was, how weird is it to sit back and think he's probably not even going to be the first string tight end on his new team?
Yeah, so he never was one of those guys where like we're going to focus an offense around, but I think he would deserve to go to a spot that he should. Obviously, he got the money or the contract that he wanted, even though I think he wanted to stay here. But just to go to a place where maybe he is the afterthought, he's going to have numbers that are much huger than what people are going to imagine. Like he's a second string tight end. They're not going to pay as much attention to him, but they're going to have to after 3, 4, 5 weeks, because that dude can actually play, man. There's a reason why he's called Baby Conklin.
Oh, for sure. And if it was anybody other than CJ Uzoma, you would think that there wouldn't even be a thought of Conklin being the second string. But
how old is CJ?
I believe he is a year or two younger than Conklin. Okay,
so there's not that big of a thing. And then Uzama in that offense too. You're like, okay, what are we going to see from both those? All right, how often are both them going to be on the field? Probably not all that often, but you got two comparable, catching tight ends that can do damage if they were given a chance.
I will say that the Jets are going to be one of the more unpredictable offenses this year. I can see a lot of, given the talent they've got there and on both tight end and running back, I can see a lot of a bunch of double tight and double back sets.
Well, and then no one expects anything out of them either, because they're the Jets. That's just a big spot to be in. Like, what do you expect? 3, 4 wins? Well, I mean, in that division, it's getting a lot closer than what people imagine. But I still don't expect a whole lot of the Jets. But I think you nailed it, though. That offense could be something. Obviously, they think they have something, and just that offense alone should at least keep them in games until the third or fourth quarter. They're not going to get blown out much.
I mean, yeah, I could see. I honestly am going to predict right now that the AFC East is probably going to be the best, or at least most competitive division in the league this year.
As far as record-wise, right? You're like those teams themselves, other than the Bills, aren't going to be. You said AFC East, right?
Yes.
Other than the Bills,
Dolphins, and Jets. The Bills, who honestly probably should have been the AFC team in the Super Bowl last year.
Yeah.
And between them, who it's their division to lose, unfortunately. But everybody's looking at the Jets, Dolphins, and Patriots as an afterthought. But looking at the moves that all three of those teams have made in the offseason, it's not going to be not one of them is going to be as much of a pushover as everyone would typically expect. Like, I can definitely see two teams from the AFC East in the playoffs. I
don't think I have two. I don't think I have two from the East going. I think I have the Bills, and then I may be the 7th seed. I went the Patriots. I can't remember. I haven't done my official predictions yet, but I think I went Bills as the number 1 seed, to be honest with you. I think they're just going to be too much. Like, all the new pieces that their AFC East foes have added aren't enough to stop that offense. And then that defense, other than some of those big time games, like, they're no slouches either. Like, no. That's a really, really hefty defense. And then to go into Buffalo on, end of January and try to win a playoff game against Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, and just the rest of those guys, like
to it.
that offensive line just mauls the heck out of people too. So it's like, man, if they could just run the ball a little more effectively so you're not just keying on the pass the whole time, they're going to geek out some people, man. I could see like some 45 donut type games against the Bills this year, but getting away from it a little bit. I don't know if two teams from the East will make it, but that whole competitive thing, I think they're going to be, the three teams are all going to be close in record, 8-9, 9-8, something like that. Maybe not the Jets. Jets will probably get 6 or 7 wins, but they're going to be close in all of them. They're probably going to beat the Bills once, just because that's the way that division works.
Here, twist this real quick.
That's your fandom, Jets fandom. You're the Jets guy.
Diehard gangrene.
There we go, man.
Born and raised in Pittsburgh, but I'm a diehard Jets fan, and I actually will low-key say this. I actually hate the Steelers worse than I hate the Patriots.
Really? I'm a big Mike Tomlin fan. Came from Minnesota. I thought it really sucks that they gave Chile another contract, because I thought he was the guy. I thought Tomlin should have been the next guy.
Oh, I'll say this. I have nothing but respect and love and admiration for Tomlin. Between the fact that he is, of active coaches, not only one of the most tenured, but also has the third greatest career win percentage after Belichick and McCarthy. But the fact that alone should get him a Hall of Fame career with the Hall of Fame nod, with his longevity and the fact that he's had a successful winning percentage every year. But also the fact that man must have the patience of a saint, being able to put up with Antonio Brown for 8 seasons when no other team has even kept him for half a season.
Le'Veon Bell too, man. Both those guys, like they got so much out of those two guys that were just knuckleheads.
Well, Le'Veon Bell wasn't so much. His thing was he had hired an idiot for an agent and listened to him.
Yeah. That offense was so good though. So good for so long. And it's just like the prototypical Steelers offense and the Steelers defense, where it was just like a bunch of ragtags came together around like 2 or 3 stars, and they were relevant for, I mean, they've been relevant forever. How many times has Tomlin had a losing season? Once?
Not even. He's been in the job 15 years and has 15 winning seasons.
He never had a 7-9.
Nope. 8-7-1 was the lowest he's gone.
That's right. That was the year. Yeah. And then who'd they tie with? I can't remember that year. It was just like an awful game too. Like nobody wanted to win.
Was it the Browns?
Was that year? Anyway, I love how we're talking a whole lot of AFC East.
Yeah. Well, no, we're talking Steelers now. We're talking AFC North.
Okay. Yeah, AFC. Well, yeah, we're talking not NFC North so far.
No,
but
let's look back to that.
We can eventually. This is your show, man. You do whatever the hell you want.
Well, it kind of went off, and you went on the tangent about the Steelers, so I just was letting you go.
That's the tangent. That's a big thing for me, man. They call it the Cribby tangent. Like I will connect two things that should never be connected.
Okay, so you're giving me the warning now that I need to pay attention with the goldfish here. Got it.
Yeah, we should. Yep.
But it doesn't look like you've lost a whole lot defensively. Yes, Xavier Woods leaving, but other than that, I'm seeing outside linebacker Nick Vigil, who, with a contract of $1.17 million, obviously wasn't your starter. And defensive
he was a good piece. He was a good piece from time to time, but nothing big.
Defensive end Tashawn Bauer, but again, 1.03, 1.04 mil. So let's move on to what came in, because this is where it's going to get more interesting. Just a second.
It was a total clean slate with the defense. Like there was only 3 or 4 pieces where you knew were going to stay as long as they could make the numbers work. But other than that, it was it's just free reign for Donatel and the guys just with Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah just going and getting a whole bunch of new guys that they think can play.
I'm looking here. You got re-signings with Sean Mannion and Patrick Peterson. You've signed 3. Oh, and Ty Smith. Sorry. You brought it to join Peterson and Ty Smith, though. You brought in 2 new corners. One from Green Bay with Chandon Sullivan and one from Denver with Nate Hairston.
The Nate Hairston, that could be one of those that makes or breaks some stuff. Because just having him, somebody that knows the defense, that can run a little more of it, he might get on the field a little more just because of his knowledge of the whole playbook. So that could be one of those that helps out a little bit. But I think obviously the big one you got to talk about on our defense is going to be the addition by subtraction, taking a guy from the Packers and Zadarius Smith. Like that's the dude in free agency that was the wow. That was the holy cow. We got Danielle Hunter and Zadarius Smith coming off the edge in a 3-4. That's going to be one of those where our middle of the defense last year was so soft. Was just like we were giving up chunks and chunks of yardage every single game, just up the middle, whether it be passing or running, but obviously in the run game. Now you get a few of those guys coming in that can rush the edge. That middle's going to close up pretty fast, especially in that 3-4. So I think that's the big signing. If that's where you were getting to, I'm sorry if I stole your thunder with that one, but
all good.
He's the main signing, maybe not just the defense, but the whole team. And it's going to be what him and Danielle Hunter can do, because Danielle Hunter, I mean, he hasn't been on the field for 2 years, basically. So if both of those guys can come back to their 2018 form, could be good.
You did also, since we're talking defense, the other big acquisition I think is going to play a large level of impact for you guys. From Buffalo, defensive tackle Harrison Phillips.
That is a big one, too. His name always escapes me for some reason. It's like the most obvious name, Harrison Phillips. Like, you should be able to remember that. For some reason, I can never remember. I wanted to say like Jerry Harrison or something like that for some reason. I don't know why. But I haven't seen much footage from him, but I guess the defensive line has just been gobbling the living hell out of the offensive line. It's one of those things in training camp where where you see the defense just kicking the shit out of your own offense. You're like, God, I'm hoping these joint practices you can see a little more once they start doing that. And then the preseason games, obviously, you want to see a little more of that. But those are too big, and they decided to go on the defense. And I'm glad Patrick Peterson came back, because I didn't know if they were going to be able to sign him. I thought he was probably going to get a little more money from somewhere else, but he ended up staying. It seems like he really likes it here, and he likes doing that mentor type role. And I didn't think young Patrick Peterson, when you're watching young Patrick Peterson, you would have never thought he'd ever want to be a role model to anybody. He just does his thing. But I mean, he's been taking these guys under their wing, and people are loving it so far. I love it, man. He's dang good still. He's definitely not a 97 rating on Matting anymore, but he's still pretty badass.
You had also mentioned, obviously, Zadarius Smith. He's not the only decent impact linebacker that came in. Yeah, you've got him on the outside, but you also brought in for the middle Jordan Hicks at 2 years for $10 million.
Yeah, for $5 million a year, that I don't know how they're getting these guys for these friendly deals, but they must believe in something, because you think Hicks would have had some other sniffs everywhere else, but just solidifying that defense, having those guys, it's just scary too, because you've never seen any of these guys play together, and they're all coming on a new defensive scheme that I've never seen. I don't know what Donatel runs. I just know it's 3-4, and it's a lights out type up the middle, and gone are the ways of Zimmer, where he won't let rookies sniff the field, because now we got some rookies that are going to have to step up too on the outside. But And his defense could be very scary.
I mean, yeah, you've added a few key linchpin pieces, so it's going to be entertaining for sure.
Well, the beauty of it is all brand new. It's going to be we've seen one thing one way for 7, 10, whatever years it was with Spielman and Zimmer, and now just to see something new is really exciting here. Do I think it's going to manifest a Super Bowl immediately? Probably not, but I mean, we got pieces in place where it could definitely, like, if you start getting on a run, I don't think this schedule is all that gross, but in the middle of it, if they can pull off some wins on the road, because they got a pretty hefty road schedule, if they can pull off some upsets in there, they could sniff a 10-win season out of there, and that could be good enough to win the NFC North, to be honest with you, because right now it doesn't look like there's a 14-team win or a 14-win team in this division right now.
No.
In my opinion.
No, I don't think so either, because I just double checked. I'm actually looking at my predictions, at my breakdown of everything now, and yet no. I don't. As much, you guys have done a lot of improvement. And yes, that Zadarius Smith signing is a huge addition by subtraction and addition by addition for you guys. Do I see you guys dethroning Green Bay at the top of the division this year? Probably not. But we'll get more into this, because I think you will like something I have to say when we get to that point in this episode.
I don't necessarily disagree with you either. I mean, they still have number 12. I mean, Green Bay, like, they're putting all their eggs in that basket. They still have 12. So yeah. It's anything. I quite literally have money on them in the Super Bowl, because every single year I bet a large amount of money on Green Bay because I don't want to see them win. And if they win, at least I have enough to buy a rope and a keg of beer. So,
no, sorry I started laughing, but I'm like, when you're like, I bet money on them because I don't want to see them win. So you have the same approach I do.
Yeah, it's called emotional hedging. I hedge emotionally. I hedge my own emotions, just because if Green Bay wins, I want to have $2,000 in my pocket that I won because they won. It makes me feel a little better.
Maybe I might. Damn, that would have been a great mindset to have for all the years that New England went to the Super Bowl.
That's it. Well, you would have had what was their longest odds in 2001 probably was their longest odds. After that, they were always probably 10-1 or less.
Yeah, sounds about right. I will say this much, just on a side note, the last year that we won, I was so pissed off. Not for them winning it, because you know what, at that point, I will say that's probably the one Super Bowl that New England definitely deserved to win the most out of all of them. But because I was at Rivers Casino in line for the sportsbook window, planning on, had already made up my mind that I was going to put $100 down on Julian Edelman to get MVP.
Oh, man.
Unfortunately, right when I was finally next in line for the window, kickoff happened.
Damn. See, that year, NFL wise betting and Super Bowl wise, was my healthiest year I've ever won. Like I ended up, I'm a fantasy guy too, but I wasn't big into fantasy that year. I kind of took a few years off. I was just gambling on games that year. And just the playoffs, I don't know what it was. Just my playoff, I went hardcore on Patriots and Edelman and all that stuff. And I came out pretty heavy on that year too. That was one of the best.
I will say I did a quite nice job of turning $40 into $40 into 240 off of the betting the underdog on the Patriots to beat the Chiefs that year to get to the Super Bowl.
There you go. Yeah, that was a fun playoffs too, was it not? It was just like I just love the NFL so much because each year there's something different where you're like I think last year's playoffs, that first round was just a stink fest. But I kept on telling people, I'm like, we need that stink fest because these next round games are that much better. And it just never got bad. Like every single game was ridiculously awesome.
Oh yeah.
And we're seeing things. That's in my bio for KNSI Sports too. Is I love covering sports because on any given day you can see something that has never been seen before. There's been sports for thousands of years, and you're never ever going to see, a 28-3 comeback in the Super Bowl. I know you hate that because of the Patriots coming back against the Falcons, but still, it's like you'd never see that.
The year before, yeah.
Yeah, but just like just kind of, I was doing a creepy tangent again, just to let you know. Just all of a sudden, I started going one way and then went the other way.
That's all right. That just means this is going to end up being a longer than usual episode. I'm fine with that.
Could be. So it could be a real crazy episode once my wife and kids come home. I don't know where they're at right now. I thought we were going to be done by now, but they could show up and then one of them might be on too. You never know.
Cameo. All right. So we pretty much covered most of the big moves on the free agency, I'd say.
They didn't have much money, so they had to do what they did in order to make the defense what they hope it's going to be, if that makes any sense. Like they didn't have a lot of money to go get that. Of course you wanted Akeem Hicks. Like you would have loved to get him from Chicago, but they just didn't have the money to make that and Zadarius Smith work.
True. Between the two, I think you guys took the better option.
Well, I just hate seeing Akeem Hicks against our middle offensive line because our middle offensive line is so bad. I don't even know if we have the starting center on the team right now. That could be sacrilege. I don't know. Garrett Bradbury, first round pick, or was he second round maybe.
Yeah, Bradbury's listed on your according to ESPN, Bradbury's listed as your starting center.
Yeah, I don't know. He just doesn't do it for me, man. And he just doesn't seem to have that back end where you want out of a center, where he can anchor in or he can move off to the side. Maybe the new offensive scheme will help, but man, it's just got to do a lot of quick hitting. You're not going to be able to do a whole lot of play action passing with him because all of a sudden the guy's in his lap.
I'd say offensive line is definitely your biggest weakness.
You can say that for the last 9 years. 9 or 8 years.
Then again, that's a lot of teams where offensive line is where they suck the most.
Yeah. Well, the last few years, it was all about scheme. They were doing that zone blocking scheme. I miss the days where you just get the guys that can block and let them do their fucking job. Now you got this zone blocking where you're like, well, you have to shuck this guy and then you bring this guy around and then the running back has to wait for this lane to open. No, just smash the people in the mouth. And that's where I think they're trying to go, because Brian O'Neill and Darrisaw on the outsides, Darrisaw is looking awfully spry this offseason. Like he looks like he put on a little bit of muscle, and he looks good, man. He looks healthy.
All right, let's move into the draft. Now I will give you a warning. I start with the 7th round, work my way forward because save the best for last.
There's so many picks for the Vikings too. It was just so many moves.
Looking at the draft itself, how many times did you guys trade back to get extra picks?
It was, I mean, in the division too. I want to say 9. It was 9 total trades, which isn't uncommon, but this isn't a Rick Spielman draft anymore. No, everyone was hoping. So Kwesi, he's a numbers guy apparently. So hopefully punch the numbers and everything works with trading Green Bay and trading with Detroit. Just
all I'll say is not only was the draft day trading insane, but the entire free agency up until this point, this has been the craziest offseason I think I've ever seen in the NFL. And hilariously enough, it's also seems like that's the same trend that the NHL's taking this year as well.
NHL's ridiculous right now. It's big, like big superstars. You don't see those trades, those huge blue chip players going for blue chip players. You don't see that anymore.
Can we just say just 3 names that have all been traded or free agent signed to the Ottawa Senators alone? Between Cam Talbot, Alex DeBrincat, and Claude Giroux, and with them moving Matt Murray over to, God, where the hell did he go?
It wasn't Tampa Bay, was it?
I want to say it was Toronto, but I'm not sure.
Right.
But that's completely different subject. We'll save that for when I start breaking down NHL shit.
Kirby tangent.
Well, no, that was more of a me tangent that time, but okay.
Vicarious. It was vicariously.
You're rubbing off on me already, Kirby. Damn it.
Yeah, could be.
But start with last 7th. Your lone 7th round pick. So I guess as far as Minnesota is concerned, you're Mr. Irrelevant. But round 7, pick 227, Nick Muse, tight end from South Carolina.
Not going to see much out of him. A lot of the way the Vikings have been doing things, even with Spielman and that stuff, it's just like they'd have all these 6th and 7th round picks that don't even sniff the roster. Practice squad guy maybe, but the tight end room, depends on what happens with Irv Smith too. Like I have not heard much about the extent of his injury, but it is kind of concerning. So that maybe was going to help him, but I don't think he's going to see much.
All right, your 2 6th round picks at numbers 191 and 184 respectively. Wide receiver Jalen Naylor from Michigan State and offensive tackle from Illinois, Vidarian Lowe.
So Jalen Naylor is a name that a lot of people are saying, because we have a thing called Mr. Mankato here, where you see like a guy. Camp used to be a Mankato, now it's an Egan. But Mr. Mankato this year, a lot of people were picking Jalen Naylor because he could be a guy. Like you see what he did at Michigan State. He is kind of a dude. Like he could be one of those guys, a special teams guy. He could be 4th, 5th wide receiver, one of those guys that may see a lot more than what you'd think. It all depends on what they see this next week out of him. Of course, we're only 8 days in a training camp, 7 days in a training camp, whatever it is. But there's a lot of whispers about Jalen Naylor actually making this squad, and not only making the squad, but making a little bit of a dent.
Well, with the talent you already have, though, with Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, and KJ Osborne, he's going to have a lot of an uphill battle to get consistent reps.
How many games has Adam Thielen missed the last 2 seasons?
That is a very solid point as well.
It's going to be one of those things where I love Adam Thielen. He is a red zone machine. He is the go-to guy for Kirk Cousins when it comes to like the 12, 17 yard line, somewhere in there inside that red zone. But Jalen Naylor, if he could make a name for himself on special teams and just be there waiting for one of these guys to maybe go down. And I love KJ Osborne too, but he did show some inconsistencies on some of his routes last year. If Jalen Naylor can supplant himself to just be waiting in the wing, there might be something there.
Okay. Sorry, I'm just looking because I think ESPN has a typo here somewhere.
Okay.
But round 5, moving forward, you also went offense defense with your 2 picks. The reason I'm saying typo, I'm pretty sure it's saying both of them were number 165 overall.
Yeah, I don't think you can do that.
No, I don't think so either. So I don't know. Did you guys have back-to-back in the 5th or?
Well, there was so much trading. I know we had at one time, we had like 4 of the next 7 or 12 picks or something like that. And then you traded those away. Like you see all those arrows on like the lines and stuff like that. I couldn't even keep it straight that day.
Yeah,
it was nuts.
Me either. Like there were certain moments like when Tennessee traded Hollywood Brown to Philly was a big one with like, wait, what the fuck had just happened? How's Tennessee on the board all of a sudden?
Yeah.
The other one was the 22nd overall pick when I don't remember who the hell was supposed to be on the board, but all of a sudden me getting to work. I'm driving to work at night one, and I look down at my phone, 22, and all of a sudden, New York Jets on the board. I'm like, how the fuck? What? We only had 2 picks in the first. What's this? When they traded up to pick that Jermaine Johnson pick.
I can't remember if the Vikes were 22 or 24. I can't remember when one of those they traded out of, but it seems like years ago that the draft happened, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
It's only a couple months ago.
Was it even that long ago? Wasn't it the beginning of June? Wasn't it like end of May, beginning of June?
The draft's always in April.
Oh, for fuck's sakes. Yeah, I'm way off. Yeah, time dilation. But anyways, your 2 picks at number 165 overall.
We got good value because we got 2 guys.
I guess. North Carolina running back Ty Chandler and defensive end from Minnesota. I'm going to butcher the hell out of this, but Isazi Otomawu.
Tom yep. That's close. Easy. That's one of those dudes that, of course, being a Minnesota dude, you want to see him do well. I just don't know where he's going to end up on the depth chart. And Ty Chandler, he's one of those. He's a tiny guy, isn't he? What's his height? Is he like a 5'6" guy?
Does it say it on here?
Special teams guy, maybe. I can't remember if he's the guy that they're saying he's going to be fighting for a position, and if he makes the position, it's going to be a lot of special teams, but he could do some damage coming out of that backfield or split out wide. Or
I will say he's got some wheels though. He runs a 4.38 40.
That's one of those guys where you just look at how fast they can go as opposed to like their film. But just seeing that speed, like the Raiders used to do, just get the fastest guy in the world, just put them on their line or put them on their squad.
I wouldn't
that
say
seems like that pick.
I wouldn't say he's ridiculously short for a running back being 5'11". That's about.
Oh, he's 5'11". Yeah. So he's not the small guy I was thinking of then. For some reason, I thought there was a tiny dude that they got that everyone kind of loved. I can't keep it straight sometimes.
Well, we might be discussing him in a minute here because we still got everything the fourth and earlier.
Oh, right.
But at a 4.38 40 running back, you could definitely see him being being early down back, maybe.
He obviously with the running back room that the Vikes have right now, I mean, you're going to have to really show out in camp to be able to get any of those touches. But
yeah, Dalvin
I mean, with a new regime, you never know. I mean, you see the Rams, what they did. They're drafting 2 running backs every year, the way it seemed. Like they're just getting these guys that, because obviously last year they needed it, weren't they? On like their 4th string running back for a while there, and they won the Super Bowl. So just like they just kept on, even though they had Todd Gurley, they keep on drafting running backs, and then you get yourselves a Cam Akers every once in a while.
The Super Bowl win was largely on the shoulders of Matt Stafford finally getting a chance to show how good he really was for all those years.
I'm not saying their running backs were the reason they won, but I'm just saying, like, you look at the way they were doing things offensively, they were constantly trying to look for different pieces that could puzzle different defenses.
But a lot of times it still ended up rolling back to, okay, I'm not seeing much here. Hey, Cooper.
yeah. Oh, shit. There we go. Got a little excited. That'll be the edit room.
Except we're live.
Oh, well. Sorry, guys. Sorry, everyone.
No, I thought you were laughing so hard you fell out of your chair for a second. I was about to say, oh shit.
No, I was excited because I had Cooper Kupp on my fantasy team. So I got a little crazy there. I ended up winning that one, which was nice.
I came in 4th in my league.
Dang.
Well,
next year.
it didn't help that my 2 starting running backs were both missed like 4 weeks at the same stretch.
Ugh,
Kamara and Gibson.
damn. We got Cooper Cup for super cheap. It's an auction draft. So I want to say we got him for like $18. So we get to keep him here. Yeah, we get to keep him next year for like $26 or something like that.
I'm guessing it bounces up as a 1.5.
Yeah, it's like it depends on how many people you keep, I guess. Like if you keep one guy, it's like $3. You keep 2 guys, it just keeps multiplying. So we'll end up keeping a good nucleus, especially with Cooper Cup.
Mine is a +1 keeper league. So it's like wherever you drafted, as long as they stayed on your squad the whole year from draft day to the end of the season, they are eligible. They just jump around from where you drafted them the previous year.
Yep.
Let's just say my 2 starting wideouts are already locked, and my starting quarterback is now that they've finally made gave an answer on how long Deshaun Watson's going to miss. I've made up my mind on keeping my other quarterback. But I already had my depth and bye weeks covered in the draft up before the 16th round. So I took a wing thinking for the future and drafted Watson in the 17th.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes that works out.
It would have worked out if we were looking at maybe a 2 to 4 game suspension, but the fact that we're looking at 6 minimum and Goodell's probably going to freaking appeal it leaves me with I'm keeping Darnell Mooney in the 15th.
Ain't that bad.
Hell no, he's ranked as on the early cheat sheets ranked as number 24.
Hey, there we go.
So Darnell Mooney at 15. Cooper Cup at 3. Because I took him in the 4th last year.
That's so crazy.
And the guy that I took in the 5th round that I'm keeping as a 4th, which I don't generally do with this position this early, but since it's a 14-team league, I'm making the exception. 4th round, Justin Herbert.
Yeah, that's just fine. We got Jalen Hurts for like $4. So we're gonna keep him for like $7 or whatever it is. That's not bad. Can't remember how much it is, but he was one of the main reasons why we got to where we got, and I was so high on him. And I told my buddy, I was like, get him and Stafford, because he was drafting and I running the team. The year before I drafted, he ran the team.
Okay.
So this year he drafted. Yep. And I was like, hey, just give me Matthew Stafford. I want him, and then I want go like Jalen Hurts or something like that. He only drafted Jalen Hurts. Like it got away from him. So he was our only quarterback for most of the year, which worked out really, really well.
Can't really argue. I mean, isn't he already in the before the first snap of the season? He's already in the MVP discussion.
Yeah, it's just I think Colin Cowherd started that one, or maybe Dan Patrick started that one, because he was talking about one of those 2 guys were talking about just where their money would be on MVP, and all of a sudden his odds just got way tougher to bet on, because it was like all of a sudden he was like 10-1 as opposed to 50-1.
Looking at Philadelphia and the fact that they really, I don't see it, but who knows? I could be wrong.
Just think if they would have had Justin Jefferson. Just think if they drafted him instead.
Yeah. Anyways, moving to the 4th, because I just thinking of Jalen Hurts and anybody from the Eagles right now with how bad they've been the past few years, being the league MVP is making my brain hurt. So we're going to move back to round 4. You only had 1 pick. Number 118, Missouri cornerback, Caleb Evans.
Yeah, Caleb Evans. He's already he's solidifying himself as one of those guys that he's easy to root for, man. He just seems down home, good. And he's one of those dudes that started a scrap right away on week one. Like week one of training camp, he was already in fisticuffs. So he's a dude that you like to cheer for, and he's a dude that looks like he's going to work his ass off, and that's what you want. If I don't know if he's going for the slot corner or what they're going to do with him, especially in this Donatel defense, he's going to need some sort of dude that can roam around, and he looks like he's going to be on that starting defense one way or another. I'm not saying week one, but he looks like a dude, to be honest with you. He's got a lot of fight in him, and a lot of the fan base already loves him, so it's good.
Moving on to one that I think at this point is probably a safe bet to say he will be on the starting list. Third round pick, number 66 overall, Boomer Sooner linebacker Brian Asamoah.
Yeah, he's a freight train. Like I just don't understand. He might be one of the best picks that the Vikes had, because that dude, you watch the film, and it looks like he's a hammer. Like I used to roof. He looks like one of those tack hammers when he just looks like he hits hard. And the way he reads defenses, he's going to be on that starting defense too. He looks like one of those guys where you could kind of build around. And this is, of course, a week. This is, I don't know how many days they've been in camp, but he's a name that people won't keep out of their mouth. They just keep saying that same name over and over and over again. And those last two guys I've been talking about, a lot of people reporting on the Vikings are just gushing over them. So pretty good couple rounds there.
Now, second round, there's two picks. You had two picks. We're actually going to jump ahead and go back first, because the one that's definitely going to make an impact that I know your entire fan base is cheering over at 42 to increase your corner out of Clemson, Andrew Booth.
That's another. He just looks like a dude, man. He looks like one of those guys. And then there's something with those Clemson corners that they have this chip on their shoulder for some reason. Like they just seem to be a hammer. They always play until the end. He just looks like an NFL corner, in my opinion. Like obviously you start watching the draft highlights and you're trying to figure out guys that would fit on your team. He's a guy that a lot of people were slating them to get. And, it wasn't necessarily going to be in the second round either. It was maybe back end of the first or something like that. But Andrew Booth he's solid, man. And I think with him and Patrick Peterson, it's just, if he can model his game a little bit after Patrick Peterson, he could be that. There's a couple guys in that. It's going to be scary, because we could have 3 starting cornerbacks that are rookies this year. Depends on what they do with that slot.
That is weird to think, because like corner, especially being one of the hardest star level positions to find somebody for, and to have 3 of them as rookies, that's a big gamble.
It's scary, man. It seems like 2 are destined to be in that starting lineup for sure. There's a few guys that are, man, it's going to be tough. What are they going to do with that 3-4? Are they going to have they're going to move a corner around all the time? They're going to move a linebacker around all the time? What are they going to do? So it's going to be one of those things. Whoever shows out in camp, that's going to be that guy that you center that defense around, that could just make an impact that you didn't think was going to make an impact. And I think Andrew Booth, he's a star in the making, I think.
Okay, moving on from someone that's guaranteed to be famous to someone that coming into the league is already infamous.
Yeah.
Like this one here, I'm not. I'll admit I'm not the biggest Vikings fan. Out of division, out of conference, out of mind, out of concern. But I'm really shaking my head at what your GM, Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah, was thinking with this pick. I mean, they didn't really have a chance to vet him too much, because he missed all of 2018 and most of 2019 of his college career due to a 2018 arrest for 2 counts of aggravated sexual assault. and now is being drafted 59th overall. We're talking about, of course, LSU guard Ed Ingram.
It's when you're drafting just for positions of need, sometimes those things escape you. I obviously don't know what they were thinking either. When you're trying to have like in a league where it seems like everyone screws up, has sexual assault on their record all the time. You think you'd want to avoid that type of thing? Obviously, they thought he's going to be fine, but I don't know. I don't know what type of impact he's going to have. But as a player, when you saw him 2.5, 3 years ago, he's an LSU dude. So obviously he's probably a blue chip player. It's just couldn't see the field because of all the allegations and stuff like that. And I always hate trying to speculate that kind of stuff. You're like, how can you really predict what's going to happen with somebody when they're in legal battles? Like I would hate to be a GM trying to figure out who's going to be their guy of the future. But you think you'd want to stay away from a guy with that many red flags.
For sure. Unless you're Cleveland, apparently.
Yeah, that was only 24 red flags. That wasn't, oh, I guess at the time it was 23, but now it's 24. So.
But now we mentioned Xavier Woods. Moving on. Your lone first round pick, and you had to wait till the last pick of that round.
Because of the trades.
because of the trades, yes. But I'd say you made it worthwhile with Georgia safety Lewis Cine.
I think Cine. Lewis Cine is what we've been going with.
Well, then that's what we're going to go with.
So that, obviously, if you take what your GM and your guys in charge say, that was one of those guys that they were looking at their original first round pick. What was it, 18 or whatever it was at the beginning? 15, 18, 22, whatever it was. That's what they were looking at taking allegedly. And then they ended up getting more draft capital and still getting the guy they want. Obviously, GMs are going to tell you that.
Originally had the 12th pick.
Was it 12th? Okay.
You dropped from 12 to 32, jumped from 46 to 34 in the second, and picked up the number 66 pick out of that trade with the Lions.
It didn't seem like we got a lot at the time, but now when you look at it as a whole, it looks like we got the guys that can do the job. But Lewis Cine, he's, obviously you're thinking, okay, why didn't they go this guy? What was the Notre Dame guy? He was a safety. Was it Hamilton or something like that? I can't remember. I'm not a draft guru. I'm barely in anything, but there was a few of guys saying that they were going to go a safety in the first round, and not a whole lot of people said Lewis Cine. So getting him at 32 and then them saying that they love him, he looks like one of those dudes too. Like he could be one of that package. We're talking 3 guys at that type of position, 3 cornerbacks playing on a brand new defense that a guy like me has never seen. Could be really fun to watch because these guys, they look scrappy in practice, man. And then with that defensive line and that, obviously they're linebackers, but they're coming off the edge. What those guys kind of set the tone. All the corners have to do is their job, and this could be a fun defense.
Looking at the fact that he's already slated in your, according to ESPN, as the first line free safety, I definitely see Cine having a massive impact for you guys.
Well, when you have Hitman Harry on the other side, obviously you're going to have your chance to show people that you can play if you're on the other side. And I keep saying this, obviously we don't know what that defense is going to look like. Are we going to be dropping one guy down in the box? Are we going to be having guys just sitting out on the side? We're going to have one single high safety. I'm not sure. And that's the beauty of this. You can just kind of speculate what these guys do best and hope that you're right, and hopefully like the defensive coordinator thinks you're right too, and it all works out.
Now I'm looking here at the 3 picks that were made out of that Detroit trade. Asamoah, Booth, and Scene, and surprisingly, like looking at how good Booth and Asamoah are looking, like with draft capital wise, I'm surprised that Scene's the only one that's listed right now as your starter.
Obviously, being 7-8 days in, you're not going to know much. And then if you're just looking at ESPN too, I don't know how accurate they are half the time. It's what you got to kind of look at Vikings.com. It seems like they slow play this stuff too. Like, doesn't it seem that way? Like you'll be watching the training camp, you're like, this guy's the starter. Why is he not listed as a starter? It's like they just hide it for some reason.
Well,
they just don't want people to think he's that good.
I'm gonna move over to Vikings.com since you just said it.
As far as like, I'll give a good shout out to Vikings.com, man, because those guys, they put on a good. I covered the Arizona Cardinals for a couple years and the Steelers for a couple years, and Vikings.com, like just the way they do things, seems to be the way that a lot of teams should do things. Everything's pretty accurate. Everything's right on time. They're good people.
Unfortunately, they are opting not to release the official depth chart till
slow playing it.
Season.
Yeah,
but
what do you know?
The most fun part of this series here is the schedule analysis.
Oh yeah, top notch stuff. We're all preseason prognosticators.
Gesundheit. Okay, I don't know where my shit. Okay. So I have no clue where. Do I have a pen in my desk? That might be the smart place to look. No, I don't. Shit.
I'm sure you got one. I got one. Probably not going to help though.
I mean, I was just going to leave it to tally your wins losses versus mine for this, but because I've got the entire schedule written down in front of me.
All right.
So I don't have you guys starting that great. I definitely think you're going to be stronger than after your bye than beforehand. But I do have you picking up a big division win week 1. Green Bay.
I think a lot weighs on that first week, man. It's just, it could make or break. It could be enough to win that division, to be honest with you. Just one big win. It's tough saying in week 1. I believe I have that as a loss. If I remember correctly, I can't remember. I'd have to look at my notes too, my Google Doc, but I don't have anything set up. I think it was a coin flip for me, but I went a loss with them. I think I'd have to look, but I don't. Obviously, the Packers have not really beefed up their offense that much. Their offensive line, you look at their guys right now, you're like, who the heck are they? But like I said before, you have number 12 throwing the ball. It doesn't matter who you're throwing to. It's just, it doesn't matter who's blocking for him because he can make magic out of nothing. Even though he looks like Cameron Poe or whatever, still it's I have it a coin flip, and as of now, I believe I have the Vikes losing that first game.
Do you have them getting swept by Green Bay then? Because this is the home game for you guys.
Yeah, I know. I'm pretty sure. God, maybe I had them getting swept. Well, if either way, let's just switch it around then. Let's go. I'll take the Vikings win then. Maybe that'll be a better narrative. Vikings win week 1 and they lose at Green Bay then.
Okay.
That's what we'll switch it up.
Okay, week 2 Philly.
That's it, man. I hate Philly. I hate going to Philly.
And it's at Philly, yes.
And it's at Philly. It depends on what I want to say. I think I had them 1-1. So I must have had them getting swept by Green Bay. And I had them beating Philly in Philly. So
Okay,
either way, I have them losing to Philly.
You have them losing to Philly.
Yeah, let's do that one because I think I had them 1-1 after week 2.
So right now you're going to say you're back to beating Green Bay, losing to Philly.
Yeah, let's go that.
Okay.
Let's do that one, the official part.
All right. Okay, then we're even so far. Week 3, Detroit.
Got them beating them.
See, I've got you losing the early game.
Okay.
Which I've got. It's funny because I have you splitting the series with Green Bay, splitting the series with Detroit. I have you sweeping Chicago.
I have them sweeping Chicago and Detroit, but losing games that we probably shouldn't.
Okay. So right now I've got you losing to Detroit week 3. So I got you at 1-2. You've got it 2-1.
2-1.
Week 4, NOLA at NOLA.
Man, what are they going to look like? What's New Orleans going to look like?
It's a big question mark. They've lost. Yeah, they've lost Mariota, but he was just pretty much glorified Wildcat anyways.
Yeah.
They've still got Jameis Winston.
Is it? Well, it's newly visioned Jameis Winston, who looked pretty good when he first came. When he got his eyes done.
Compared to what we saw from him in Tampa, it's a whole new player.
Yeah, it's a different offense. I think I have the Vikes winning that one too. So unreal. I have them 3-1 right now. Is that what it is?
Yeah, you and I are the exact opposite because I've got them at 1-3.
I know there's something in the middle where I have them losing a few in a row.
All right, week 5, Chicago.
I got them beating Chicago. I have them sweeping Chicago, I think. Is this one in Chicago?
This is the home game.
The home game. I got them winning at home.
Okay. Week 6, Miami.
What's that going to look like? I got them losing that game. I got them losing to Miami in Miami because I think that offense is just going to be too much. It's going to be too dynamic. The defense, I think the main thing is going to be which defense can actually hold the two offenses to. Tyreek Hill just feasts off the Vikings defense in the past. Obviously, it's a different Tyreek Hill with a different dude throwing to him, but the Vikings obviously had trouble with Tua as well. So it's just I have them losing that one now.
Okay, so at this juncture, going into the bye, you and I have our records flopped. You're at 4-2. I'm at 2-4.
Okay, 4-2. I'm actually somewhat optimistic.
Like I said, moving forward, after the bye, I think I give you guys a complete. After the bye, you guys come out a lot stronger to me. Week 8, Arizona.
I think I have them losing that one.
And I have them winning.
Okay. It's all going to depend on what Kyler Murray's going to be. What's the Arizona defense going to look like? That was a fun game last year, but it's a game that the Vikings should have won. And they basically screwed their whole season up when they lost that.
All right. Week 9, Redskins.
I have them winning that one. Who's the Commanders' quarterback? Who's going to be their starting quarterback?
Carson Wentz.
That is Carson Wentz. Okay.
See that, which is why I actually have Washington going over.
Okay. All right.
It seems like most of these picks so far, we have been the exact opposite.
We're both going to end up 9-8 or 8-9 though somehow.
All right, moving on. Week 10. This one I guarantee we're going to have different answers on. Okay. At Buffalo.
I have them losing that.
I actually think at this point, Buffalo's going to have had such a strong early season that at the midseason break, and I believe this is the week after Buffalo. Let me double check that.
You think they're going to be like 7-1 and just overlook them?
No, I think that if I'm not mistaken, this is after week 7. No, but I have this for Buffalo after 2 hard-fought games against Green Bay and the Jets.
Oh, there you go.
The 2 weeks prior. So at that point, I think they're going to be a little banged up, and that's why I'm giving you guys the win over Buffalo.
It's tough to predict, but I'd say on paper, Buffalo is one of the best teams in the NFL, and I think the Vikings will succumb to that.
All right, Dallas, Week 11.
Man, what's my record at right now?
Oh dear Christ!
You're supposed to be keeping track.
Let's see. You're the exact opposite of me. So, with every game, you've had the exact opposite answer of me, except for the first 2 weeks. So
that's crazy.
4. So right now you're 5-4 because I'm 4-5.
5-4. I have them losing then, so they'll be 5-5.
Okay, I actually have them winning, so I'm at 5-5 too.
Holy crap! We're opposite every time, but 5-5. All right.
All right, Week 12, New England.
That's the Thanksgiving game, right? Thanksgiving Thursday.
I'm not 100% on that because I didn't write the dates down. I just wrote what week and what opponent.
I think so. I think I'm supposed to go to that game. So I think that's the one. Man. So I have them 5-5 right now. It's home against New England. They can never beat New England. I think I have them losing.
I think the Thanksgiving game might actually be the next week against the Jets.
I think the Vikes play in New England. Why is that happening? I think. Sorry for your production value. Sorry about that.
You might be right. It depends on when the last week of the season is, because the last week of the regular season is usually either right at Christmas or right at New Year's.
Yeah, I think it's 1 week into the January now because a little later or whatever.
Well, then yeah, that would make it either the New England or Dallas game.
Yeah, I think so. I have them losing against New England. Short week.
Go figure. It keeps up because I actually have you beating New England.
All right.
Week 13, the Jets.
I have them beating the Jets.
And it continues some more because I have them losing.
This is good stuff.
Week 14, Detroit. I think we'll both agree on this one.
I have them winning.
As do I. Week 15, Indy.
So Indy's been kind of a thorn in their side the last few years, but I have them winning that one.
I have Indy winning that one.
Yeah. I can't. I wish I had my notebook here too, because I feel like I'm going way more wins for. I must be excited or something, but I think I have them beating Indy.
All right. Well, that makes up for us having the same answer on Detroit. But then I'm going to guess we probably have the next 3. I've got 2 wins and a loss. So I'm going to guess you probably have 2 losses and a win.
More than likely. I think that's right.
Week 16, Giants.
I hate the Giants. I have them winning against the Giants, and then I think I have them losing the last 2 for some reason.
Yeah, I have you beating the Giants. I have you losing to Green Bay, and I have you beating Chicago.
Yeah, I think I have so that means I'm probably going to have 10 wins in this one. So they're going to beat the Giants, lose to Green Bay, and then they never seem to do well when it matters against the Bears to end the season. So I think I have them losing against the Bears.
That actually puts you right at 9-8.
9-8. So if I had them beating the Bears, it'd be 10 wins.
Yeah.
So somewhere along the line, I screwed up, but still came up with 9-8.
Yeah, and it's funny. That's a half game above 500.
Yeah, they're 8.5 in Vegas right now.
But with my overall look at the league, that's actually got you capitalizing over a weak NFC.
Yeah.
And taking a 9-8 record into the 7th seed of the playoffs.
That could get them. I do not have them making the playoffs in my overall playoff prediction, I haven't done my game by game yet. That's usually towards the I'd say last week in August I usually do that, but we'll see. Things do change, but I know I have them right around 9-8 or 8-9.
The NFC, my breakdown and my predictions for each team. First seed, Rams at 13-4.
We got the Rams.
Defending champions. Yeah? I think they're going to, and they haven't really lost much.
Yeah,
they've actually gained with, what was it Aaron Donald?
Well, they have Aaron Donald. They lost Ndamukong Suh. Well, he's still a free agent, right?
I believe so, but either way, I've got them winning the NFC with 13-4.
Okay.
Second seed, A-Rod keeps it up, 12-5.
You have him 12 wins, huh?
Yeah.
I think that could be right. I quite literally bet on them in Vegas, so
Third seed, I have Tampa, also at 12-5. Fourth seed, winning the weakest division in your league. Fourth seed with the weakest division winner, Dallas at 10-7.
I think that feels right. It's going to be them or Philly. Depends on what Philly can actually do. I'm pretty high on Philly this year, but I have that division winner being 9-8 or 10-7.
Well, that's funny because I'm going to squeeze in San Fran real quick as the highest wild card seed with an 11-6 record. But since you mentioned Philly, I have them coming in at 6th with a 9-8, and Minnesota bringing up the rear of the AFC of the NFC with 9-8.
That's not that far fetched. That could definitely be it. I'm a little higher on Philly. I think Philly could win that division. I don't know if I have them winning that or not yet, but Philly or Dallas. And I think Seattle's going to be trash. So I think LA and San Fran are probably just going to beat the crap out of each other. And then what's Arizona going to do? I mean, they had good opportunity last year and couldn't really capitalize on it. Are we going to have a second half of the year out of Kyler Murray like we've seen him have? Or is he actually going to do well the second half of the year?
Well, I'm putting Arizona at 6-11.
Yeah, that's not an awful prediction. That could be it because they're against, obviously that division is one of the most brutal divisions. It doesn't seem to be, if any of the teams are bad, they all just beat the crap out of each other anyway.
You're probably, I'm kind of curious to see what how you agree with my AFC calls.
Well, AFC is so unpredictable. I can't wait to hear what you say about the AFC West because everybody I've talked to has been different. Every single person's been different.
AFC West. I've got 3 teams with a winning record, 3 teams in the playoffs.
Me too. But which 3 and which, like, who's winning the division? Which 2 are wild cards?
I've got Tennessee taking the first top seed.
Oh, I'm talking AFC West.
Oh, we're getting there.
Okay.
I'm just going to go through the 7 playoff teams that I have.
Sounds slated.
Good. Tennessee taking the top, actually the best record in football next year. I have them as the sole 15-2. Looking at how quietly dominant they were this year and the fact that they didn't really lose anything.
That's a weak division. So, I mean, it seems like a lot of wins to me. Who do they play out of? Who do they play out of division? Because they could beat up on their division, but if they play,
I'm just going to go real quick, read off all their opponents: Giants, Bills, Raiders, Colts, Redskins, Colts, Texans, Chiefs, Broncos, Packers, Bengals, Eagles, Jaguars, Chargers, Texans, Cowboys, Jaguars.
So they play the AFC West, and you have them only losing 2 games all season or 3 games all season?
Yeah.
Okay.
Their offensive line is damn near freaking impenetrable, and I see Derrick Henry freaking running wild all year again.
He's so ridiculous.
And they low key had probably they low key had the best defense in football this year.
Well, it's just that whole team, just like they have this confidence about them where no one's going to outwork them. No one's going to beat them in the middle of the line. No one's going to beat them. They just wear you down, and then all of a sudden you just lost by 21 points. That's just the type of team they are. But I have them winning the division, but I have them winning the division at 10 wins.
I think the 2 losses I'm giving them are week 9 against at Kansas City.
Okay.
Because Travis Kelce, the Travis Kelce, and the fact that I think that's the one game where I'm going to say Pat Mahomes playing like freaking Brett Favre 2.0 is going to freaking save his ass.
Well, I mean, that's all they have right now. Until we see otherwise.
And then I also have a week 13 loss. This one I'm taking as a fluke, but I think it's going to happen. Philly.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think they're going to be that dominant. There's something about teams that just run the ball down people's throats. They get tired too, and they're down the second half of the season. You're not always going to see a stretch like they had when they beat Baltimore in the playoffs. You know, you're not always going to see that where they go to the AFC Championship game doing that. Everyone's kind of onto that now, and they kind of gear around that type of thing. If they can have some sort of balance and then have Derrick Henry, running for 200 yards a game, I could see them absolutely making hay at being in the AFC Championship, but I don't have them only having 2 losses. I do have them winning the division, though.
I will say that's probably the one team that I have the least confidence in, and which honestly, it's probably because they were the last team that, as I was going through each team's records and plugging from one to the other.
When you start circling all those, you're like, oh man, I have them. All of a sudden you have a team that has 2 wins and a team that has 2 losses. You're like, oh, dang it.
Yeah, that's pretty much, I think, why I have Tennessee that high, but I'm not going to really argue with it because Tennessee was very quietly the best team in football during the regular season last year.
Yeah, they're solid. They're a solid team. They're a team that can give Buffalo fits.
Now, sorry, go ahead.
No, they're a team that gives everyone fits. Like, I mean, we saw a few years ago, and then they're a team that can beat up on Buffalo if can slow down Buffalo.
I can definitely see it. Now, to let off all the suspense, since it's the one question you'd asked that you wanted an answer to. Second seed with a record of 14-3. Los Angeles Chargers.
Okay, so you have them winning the West.
Yes.
So now I've talked to about 10 people, and it's like 3, 3, 3, and 1. There's like 3 people that think the Chargers are going to win the division, 3 people that are the Raiders are going to win the division, 3 people think the Broncos are going to win the division.
And one weirdo that thinks Russell Wilson's going to be the savior of Denver.
One weirdo, yeah.
Now, third seed at 13-4, I'm giving to Cincy.
So you think so you don't believe in the Super Bowl hangover because you have both teams that were in the Super Bowl winning their divisions and going to the playoffs again.
Well, I mean, look at their divisions.
Yeah, I mean, that's
especially
fair.
In Cincinnati's case, look at their division.
Yeah.
You've got 2 teams without a quarterback and 1 team that's nothing but a quarterback.
That's so valid. Joe Burrow is, I say it a lot, he's the dude, man. He's a dude that just, like, you look at him, you're like, that's a guy. He exudes excellence. He pisses excellence. That's basically what it is.
Now, 4th seed, the team that I actually think is going to end up representing the AFC in the Super Bowl next year, coming into the playoffs with an 11-6, is what I'm giving them. Buffalo.
So you have Buffalo. I have Buffalo representing the AFC in the Super Bowl as well, but I have them at 14 wins, not like maybe 13 wins, 13 or 14. I can't remember, but it's, you have them at the 4 seed, but then geeking everybody in the playoffs, they're pulling a Cincinnati on everyone else.
I mean, yeah, kind of.
I mean, it doesn't matter in this format. We saw last year, team just gets hot. They can get hot. I'm interested in your wild card teams because you said you have 2 of them from the West. So you must have
12 and
Raiders
5 Kansas, 11 and 6 Vegas, and my 7th seed. I've already said, I think I don't know if I mentioned this to you before recording or while we started, but it's coming out of the AFC East. And you're going to probably just say it's a bias thing here, but it's not. It's looking at how many pieces that they've added over the past 2 years and how well the management has addressed the team needs and whatnot. But I've got, with a 10-7 record, the 7th seed in the AFC, New York Jets.
Really? Okay. There's nothing wrong with that.
I knew from the get-go that I was going to say the third wild card was coming out of the East because of how damn freaking competitive this division is going to be. And because on the one hand, you got Belichick, who is the most winning coach in NFL history. On the other hand, you've got Miami, who just brought in one of the best receivers to work off of their young quarterback. And then you've got the Jets, who this year alone drafted one of the top, arguably the top wideout in this year's draft class. They did take the top running back out of this year's draft class. And they've got the only quarterback not named Aaron Rodgers that was able to close out the last 6 games of the season last year without an interception.
Yeah, I mean, it's more than just bias. That's solid. I believe it. It's just not something that I think is going to happen. I do have the 3 from the AFC West going. I have the Titans winning that week South. I went Baltimore winning the North. Just because I think there's going to be a hangover with the Bengals. And then, I think Buffalo is going to be the number 1 seed. And then it's a toss-up between, there's 3 teams that could take that 7 seed. It could be Cincinnati, it could be Miami, and it could be New England. That's where I have it. I think it's like a battle between those guys. The Jets aren't on my radar like they are on yours, because quite frankly, they're the Jets. So it's like, I'm going to undersell them just because that's probably the way you see some of the teams from the NFC North. I mean, it just if you're not watching it a lot, you just kind of see them as the punching bag of that AFC East. And I do believe that it's going to be a lot better, and they are going to be much, much more improved. It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun to watch, but I don't have them making it. I apologize. Don't kick me off your show.
No, you're good. I mean, yeah, there is one team in the North that in your division that I will take that opinion with. Excuse me. And that's Detroit. They're all over the place, man. It depends on, can they rally around Jared Goff? Like, does he scare anybody? Doesn't scare anybody. He has potentially one of the better wide receivers out of this draft there, but he had Cooper Kupp and Bobby Trees. He had those guys, and he didn't seem to scare anybody out in LA. So you can't get scared of. My buddies all call him Jared Goof. It's a pretty easy one because he just looks goofy out there, man. And he rode the coattails of Sean McVay a little too long, and now he's in Detroit. So I think the Bears might be a little laughable this year too.
But I don't know. Well, that's the beauty of this, man. We could all be right. We could all be wrong. Doesn't matter. It's still 6 weeks or 4 weeks or whatever it is from, was it 3.5 weeks from actual football? 4
Or
weeks
something like
from,
that.
yeah.
Or something like
I mean,
that.
Labor Day is coming.
For your division, I've actually got Detroit at 5-12 and Chicago at 6-11.
Yeah. Is it so weird? Like you can't really predict a team that's going to have 3 wins this year or 2 wins. Like it's just tough. Like you can say the Texans are gonna, but is that really going to happen? Like I don't know.
The 2 worst teams that I've got this year, I've got Houston and New York tied for having the worst record in this coming year. Giants, not Jets.
No, I know. I'm surprised you think the Giants are going to be that bad. Nobody believes in Daniel Jones, huh?
Or Davis Mills, but I have them both.
Or Davis Mills, yeah.
I have them both going 4-13.
4-13. So you don't think anyone will have 3 wins only, huh?
No.
Yeah, it's that parity that they want. There's going to be a lot. It seems like there's going to be a lot of teams that are 7-9 or well, not 7-9, 8-9 or 9-8.
Let me look in
my predictions.
1, 2, 3. I've actually only got 4 of them going that route.
Oh, there you go. You had the Vikes 8-9, right?
9-8.
Oh, I had them 9-8 too. We just went opposite the whole time except for 2.
Yeah. I've got the Vikings and Eagles both 9-8, and I've got the Broncos and Patriots both 8-9.
Okay. Broncos and Patriots. Patriots 8-9. It's going to be interesting because the AFC East play in the NFC North. That could be a lot of. That could be a lot of where our flip flops are coming from. A lot of the teams in the AFC, and I know a lot of the teams in the NFC North, and that could be why we're opposite on a lot of stuff.
And I don't know if you noticed my smirk when you said that you were going to look at Miami as the possible 7th seed.
And you think they're just going to be trash?
No, but I do have them bringing up the rear in that division. I have them coming at 7-10.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing
I am not sold on the Tua Tagovailoa hype train.
No, neither am I. It's just like now they have the pieces around. He should be able to succeed. Like that wide receiver core is stacked. His Waddle's good, man. And then you got Tyreek Hill. That's a good wide receiver room, man.
Yes, but we're also looking at an inexperienced coach.
Yeah.
Not the greatest offensive line or defensive line.
It'll be interesting to see what he kind of brings from San Francisco down there. Like what type of offense are they going to try to run? They're gonna be all over the place. They're gonna be having a running back or a wide receiver taking handoffs out of the backfield. I don't know, man.
They're probably going to go with a West Coast offense, and I don't think they've got the receivers are good for it, but I don't think the rest of the offensive pieces are going to fit for that.
The beauty of the West Coast offense is you need an offensive line that can play that way. Yeah, that they just got to be able to do that. And I don't know if they have that offensive line to do that, if that's what they're going to try to do, because San Francisco's offensive line for those years that he was out there, it's one of the best in football. They just beat up guys. So I don't think they have that in Miami.
I think eventually, as the season progresses, their line will get better and start to come together as a unit. But I don't think that's going to happen until at least the midpoint of the season. And I think they're going to take enough L's in the early part of the season that it's going to be too much to come back from for Miami.
It's going to be fun either way, man. I'm excited. Just being on shows like this gets me jacked.
Oh no, I've definitely enjoyed every bit of this conversation.
Well, that's good, man. It's been an hour 40 minutes on air.
From as much great info as you were able to give me with going through your free agents and draft, to as hilarious as our polar opposites, but still coming together for the same record was to
That's
the
football.
down to the freaking debate we've had at the end of it. Like, I think we've run the gambit of interview styles here, and I love it.
Yeah, we're all over the place. It's fine.
But anyways, Justin, you've been phenomenal. Do you want to give a shout out to where my where the Mooncutter fans can find you?
So Mooncutter fans, you can find me at the Sports Crib 21 on Twitter. That's basically the main place where most people are going to see me. And then KNSIradio.com. I run that Twitter page too. And KNSI Sports and that's KNSI Radio AM 1450 FM 99.3 out of St. Cloud area in Minnesota. Obviously, not a whole lot of the Mooncutter fans are going to be digging into that, but if anybody follows me on Twitter, you can definitely hit that button where you follow me. I tend to follow back too. So if you ever want to create something out of this, man, like I like the Twitterverse, to be honest with you. I'm on the positive side of it most of the time. So anybody that's positive sports fans, I'm always looking for new followers and new conversations. Anybody that can convince me that the Jets are actually going to make the playoffs other than this guy. I mean, if somebody wants to communicate with that, I'm fine. I'm fine with that too. Because then I will hear two people that think that. But that's good. It is fun, man. Thanks for having me on here. It's a blast. That was just out of just a random little conversation on Twitter, and this is what it came from. This is what it came about.
I'm going to say this much. No, I'm not your delusional. I think my team's going to do great every year. I will have been the first one to say that when we had Adam Gase as our head coach, we were looking at a 4-game fucking ceiling.
Just the press conference alone, you're like, oh my God, this dude's on something.
When we had Todd Bowles, 7 games was our ceiling. We haven't had a shot in hell since Rex Ryan. And honestly, I will say Robert Saleh, Joe Douglas, the team that they put together, and the fact that Saleh hypes the passion and hypes the players to want to actually bust their ass. This is the first time in over a decade where I've actually been excited to be a Jets fan.
It's going to be fun, man. I like it that they play each other too this year, Vikes and Jets. So I got a buddy that's a Jets fan, just casual Jets fan. He just thought he hates all of his friends or whatever. So anybody that they're cheering for, he's like, nope, I'm a Jets fan and I'm a Cleveland Indians fan. So it's like
Guardians.
Guardians now,
since
yeah.
Since you're the one that pointed out, even though I've called them Redskins all episode.
Oh, it's tough not to, man.
But
it's tough not to.
I will say this much. I'm trying my damnedest for most of the Jets games this year to do like stream view parties. And since we do play the Vikings,
ooh, I'd be in. As long as I get the schedule that I want to, I should have every Sunday off. So we'll see.
All right. Well, again, guys, check Justin out. He's awesome. He knows his shit. And other than when I had Coach Mike Westhoff on a couple weeks ago to cover the Dolphins, definitely the most credentialed media person I've had on here so far. So
there we go.
Check him out. And y'all can follow me, as always, at TJE Joker. That's TJEGEOCUR. Make sure you're following Mooncutter Sportscast on Twitter at Mooncutters. We do have a YouTube channel now. Make sure you subscribe. Not only is Mooncutter Sportscast a proud affiliate of Running Force Productions Network, but make sure you're looking up Running Force Productions on YouTube. Give us a like, give us a follow, give us a subscribe, whatever. And as always, Joffrey Curry, tonight being joined by Justin Ekstrom, signing off.